21번. 다음 글의 빈칸에 들어갈 말로 가장 적절한 것은?
Research has confirmed that athletes are less likely to participate in unacceptable behavior than are non-athletes. However, moral reasoning and good sporting behavior seem to decline as athletes progress to higher competitive levels, in part because of the increased emphasis on winning. Thus, winning can be in teaching character development. Some athletes may want to win so much that they lie, cheat, and break team rules. They may develop undesirable character traits that can enhance their ability to win. In the short term, however, when athletes resist the temptation to win in a dishonest way, they can develop positive character traits that last a lifetime. Character is a learned behavior, and a sense of fair play develops only if coaches plan to teach those lessons systematically. 1. A piece of cake. 2. A one-way street. 3. A bird in the hand. 4. A fish out of water. 5. A double-edged sword. The answer is 5. A double-edged sword.
22번. 다음 글의 빈칸에 들어갈 말로 가장 적절한 것은? 3점.
Over time, babies construct expectations about what sounds they will hear when they hold in memory the sound patterns that occur on a regular basis. They make hypotheses like, if I hear this sound first, it probably will be followed by that sound. Scientists conclude that much of babies' skill in learning language is due to their. For babies, this means that they appear to pay close attention to the patterns that repeat in language. They remember, in a systematic way, how often sounds occur, in what order, with what intervals, and with what changes of pitch. This memory store allows them to track, within the neural circuits of their brains, the frequency of sound patterns and to use this knowledge to make predictions about the meaning and patterns of sounds. 1. Lack of social pressures. 2. Ability to calculate statistics. 3. Desire to interact with others. 4. Preference for simpler sounds. 5. Tendency to imitate caregivers. The answer is 2. Ability to calculate statistics.
23번. 다음 빈칸에 들어갈 말로 가장 적절한 것은?
Generalization without specific examples that humanize writing is boring to the listener and to the reader. Who wants to read platitudes all day? Who wants to hear the words great, greater, best, smartest, finest, humanitarian, on and on and on without specific examples? Instead of using these nothing words, leave them out completely and just describe the. There is nothing worse than reading a scene in a novel in which a main character is described up front as heroic or brave or tragic or funny, while thereafter, the writer quickly moves on to something else. That's no good at all. You have to use less one-word descriptions and more detailed, engaging descriptions if you want to make something real. 1. Similarities. 2. Particulars. 3. Fantasies. 4. Boredom. 5. Wisdom. The answer 2. Particulars.
24번 최고 오답률. 다음 글의 빈칸에 들어갈 말로 가장 적절한 것은? 3점.
What do advertising and mapmaking have in common? Without doubt, the best answer is their shared need to communicate a limited version of the truth. An advertisement must create an image that's appealing and a map must present an image that's clear. But neither can meet its goal by. Ads will cover up or play down negative aspects of the company or service they advertise. In this way, they can promote a favorable comparison with similar products or differentiate a product from its competitors. Likewise, the map must remove details that would be confusing. 1. Reducing the amount of information. 2. Telling or showing everything. 3. Listening to people's voices. 4. Relying on visual images only. 5. Making itself available to everyone. The answer 2. Telling or showing everything.
25번 최고 오답률. 다음 글의 빈칸에 들어갈 말로 가장 적절한 것은?
When reading another scientist's findings, think critically about the experiment. Ask yourself, were observations recorded during or after the experiment? Do the conclusions make sense? Can the results be repeated? Are the sources of information reliable? You should also ask if the scientist or group conducting the experiment was unbiased. Being unbiased means that you have no special interest in the outcome of the experiment. For example, if a drug company pays for an experiment to test how well one of its new products works, there is a special interest involved: the drug company profits. if the experiment shows that its product is effective. Therefore, the experimenters aren't. They might ensure the conclusion is positive and benefits the drug company. When assessing results, think about any biases that may be present. 1. Inventive. 2. Objective. 3. Untrustworthy. 4. Unreliable. 5. Decisive. The answer 2. Objective.
26번. 다음 글의 빈칸에 들어갈 말로 가장 적절한 것은? 3점.
Recently I was with a client who had spent almost 5 hours with me. As we were parting for the evening, we reflected on what we had covered that day. Even though our conversation was very collegial, I noticed that my client was holding one leg at a right angle to his body, seemingly wanting to take off on its own. At that point I said, "You really do have to leave now, don't you?" "Yes," he admitted. "I am so sorry. I didn't want to be rude, but I have to call London and I only have 5 minutes." Here was a case where my client's language and most of his body revealed nothing but positive feelings. His feet, however, were, and they clearly told me that, as much as he wanted to stay, duty was calling. 1. A signal of his politeness. 2. The subject of the conversation. 3. Expressing interest in my words. 4. The most honest communicators. 5. Stepping excitedly onto the ground. The answer 4. The most honest communicators.
27번 최고 오답률. 다음 글의 빈칸에 들어갈 말로 가장 적절한 것은?
One big difference between science and stage magic is that, while magicians hide their mistakes from the audience, in science you make your mistakes in public. You show them off so that everybody can learn from them. This way, you get the advantage of everybody else's experience, and not just your own idiosyncratic path through the space of mistakes. This, by the way, is another reason why we humans are so much smarter than every other species. It is not that our brains are bigger or more powerful, or even that we have the ability to reflect on our own past errors, but that our individual brains have earned from their individual histories of trial and error. 1. Share the benefits. 2. Overlook the insights. 3. Develop creative skills. 4. Exaggerate the achievements. 5. Underestimate the knowledge. The answer 1. Share the benefits.
28번 최고 오답률. 다음 글의 빈칸에 들어갈 말로 가장 적절한 것은? 3점.
Since a great deal of day-to-day academic work is boring and repetitive, you need to be well motivated to keep doing it. A mathematician sharpens her pencils, works on a proof, tries a few approaches, gets nowhere, and finishes for the day. A writer sits down at his desk, produces a few hundred words, decides they are no good, throws them in the bin, and hopes for better inspiration tomorrow. To produce something worthwhile, if it ever happens, may require years of such labor. The Nobel Prize-winning biologist Peter Medawar said that about 4/5 of his time in science was wasted, adding sadly that nearly all scientific research leads nowhere. What kept all of these people going when things were going badly was their passion for their subject. Without such passion, they would have achieved nothing. 1. Cooperative. 2. Productive. 3. Fruitless. 4. Dangerous. 5. Irregular. The answer is 3. Fruitless.
29번 최고 오답률. 다음 글의 빈칸에 들어갈 말로 가장 적절한 것은?
People engage in typical patterns of interaction, based on the relationship between their roles and the roles of others. Employers are expected to interact with employees in a certain way, as are doctors with patients. In each case, actions are restricted by the role, responsibilities and obligations associated with individuals' positions within society. For instance, parents and children are linked by certain rights, privileges, and obligations. Parents are responsible for providing their children with the basic necessities of life: food, clothing, shelter, and so forth. These expectations are so powerful that not meeting them may make the parents vulnerable to charges of negligence or abuse. Children, in turn, are expected to do as their parents say. Thus, interactions within a relationship are functions, not only of the individual personalities of the people involved, but also of the role requirements associated with they have. 1. Careers. 2. Statuses. 3. Abilities. 4. Motivations. 5. Perspectives. The answer 2. Statuses.
30번 최고 오답률. 다음 글의 빈칸에 들어갈 말로 가장 적절한 것은? 3점.
The title of Thomas Friedman's 2005 book, The World is Flat, was based on the belief that globalization would inevitably bring us closer together. It has done that, but it has also inspired us. When faced with perceived threats, the financial crisis, terrorism, violent conflict, refugees and immigration, the increasing gap between rich and poor people cling more tightly to their groups. One founder of a famous social media company believed social media would unite us. In some respects it has, but it has simultaneously given voice and organizational ability to new cyber tribes, some of whom spend their time spreading blame and division across the World Wide Web. There seem now to be as many tribes, and as much conflict between them, as there have ever been. Is it possible for these tribes to coexist in a world where the concept of us and them remains? 1. To build barriers. 2. To achieve equality. 3. To abandon traditions. 4. To value individualism. 5. To develop technologies. The answer 1. To build barriers.